Okay, so today we're really jumping into the neuroscience, and we're going to pit the two largest main competing competitors of how do you actually find out what the most important thing in your business to do. And so we're going to take what has been a long-standing challenger in this arena of, Vern Harnish, the Rockefeller Habits, scaling up, all that stuff, really taking from titans of business. So leaning on the long founded wisdom of the Rockefellers and their strategic planning versus kind of newer approach, or just a different approach, which is like the theory of constraints. And so we're going to dive into the neuroscience and weigh in on, as a business owner, which of these is actually going to be the clear and cut winner in this battle of the titans.
Yeah, I gotta say, Darius, though, like this is probably one of my favorite formats of our podcast episode series, mostly because we get to like share our opinions on what we've seen and how it's worked out.
Yeah.
And with that brings us to our another episode of BizMeds. We're your hosts. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darius, and we're here to give you the minimum effective dose for your business. And this is all about taking the lessons learned from scaling $30 million in under 18 months and showing you how to do the same thing and cut all that time. And we don't care about your feelings. We care about your success. So here it is. We're going to jump into that today. So as we dive in, maybe we'll just give a little context on, we say the neuroscience, and I think the neuroscience is actually pretty clear on this one. And this is really one that we've actually implemented. We've used both clearly for us, and so for those who don't know what we talk about the strategic planning, and for those of it, and you had anyone come in, whether it's a business coach or consultant or, a mentor come in and, sometimes they bring in a really handy tool, and one of them could be, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish and their whole strategic planning thing. Very involved process.
Yeah.
Right. And
very extensive.
It is very extensive. Yeah. And I think, especially I think in the early days when I first implemented that with clients and that, we would spend, almost a full day together hashing that out. So you have your big, hairy, audacious goal. Mm-hmm. You have your SWOT analysis. So your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, you figure that out. You boil down what your elevator pitch is. You look at your core values. You look at your, you take your big, hairy, audacious goal and say, okay, well, what's my time horizon I'm looking at? So you could be like 10 years out, 20, 25 years out. Right. Mm-hmm. And the big thing with that is the whole idea is you take that where you want to go and you kind of slice it into these like 3 to 5 key areas. Mm-hmm. And then you reverse engineer that time frame back to say, if I had 25 years out, where do I want to be 25 years in these 5 categories? Well, then where do I want to see in 10, 15 years? Yeah. And then that goes back to your, 3 to 5 years to your 1 year annual goal, and then your quarterly. And the idea is you kind of focus those quarterlies, and you review this quarterly, you keep going at it and kind of like chunk down those goals, all those. And then you also have all your metrics associated with all that. And it's a very idea. It's like a 1-page strategic plan. Yeah. Yeah. And it's something we've used with clients for a long period of time, and has like some tremendous value. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And I get it. And it was, when I first used it, same thing, big eye opener. I was like, this is a really deep analysis, like way to, figure out the state of your business. And again, most people listening have probably heard of it or seen it in play before, so they have their own experience with it. But,
and those who haven't, when you go from nothing to using that, it's kind of a big leap forward, because it at least gives you a framework, a really solid framework, I would say, to be able to kind of because most business owners haven't spent any time thinking about, where am I actually going? Mm-hmm. And we've talked about purpose, mission, vision, all those things, right? All kind of included in the 1-page strategic plan and the Rockefeller Habits. And so it's great because you get a lot of clarity. You start to get a lot of clarity on these things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think with that, so that's kind of like the major contender there. So if you've never really spent any time in there, like that's a really solid thing to do. And it, there's a whole, I think I think Vern and his team, has spent a lot of time kind of developing. I know they developed a newer one with his book called Scaling Up, and kind of simplified some of the ideas, but essentially the framework is all the same. It's you want to have a strategic plan on a page.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the whole idea we're getting here is it's all about is strategic planning. And all strategic planning is just kind of prioritizing your resources.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Which is what any
Figuring
company
out where
wants to
you're
do.
gonna put in your
Where do I
effort.
want to go?
Yeah.
What are the kind of the key milestones along the way? And how do I use my resources and maximize my resources to be able to achieve those goals in it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have our other contender.
Yeah.
Theory of constraints.
Theory of constraints.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where it's really around, it's I think a much more simplified process. It's kind of identify your constraint, solve that constraint, move on to the next constraint. Mm-hmm. And I think from just that outside appearance, it seems way more simplified. And I've used kind of both, and we've used both frameworks. Mm-hmm. And like the theory of constraints is really, I think, simplistic, and it's like very simplistic, easy to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Although I will say sometimes when you talk with business owners about identifying what a constraint is, that's where they have a hard time because they don't really know how to.
Yeah. What does that even, like, I don't know where my roadblock is.
Yeah. Like what is it? What is a constraint? Like what's my constraint?
Yeah.
And we've talked about it in other episodes where, you think you know what your constraint is, but it might actually be something else. You might just be dealing with the symptom of a much deeper underlying root cause, which is your actual constraint.
Yeah.
Right. So you might think you need more leads, but you just have churn on the back end. You'd be way more profitable if you just fixed your churn or people like leaving, right? And having a much higher paying customer long term.
Yeah. So along the lines of that, I earlier this week I heard somebody say something super funny, but it makes sense and it ties into like finding out what your constraint is. And so pardon my French, is like just sitting there and my friend is like, well, throughout the day as you're going through, just anytime you're doing something and you just internally feel like, well, why the fuck am I doing it? Just write it down. Just write down why the fuck you're doing it. And it'll help you figure out what your bottleneck is, why you're getting, why it takes longer to do certain things.
Yeah.
And where you're wasting your time.
Yeah. That is a very great, it's a really useful tool when you're doing a time audit, right? And so for those who've ever heard Dan Martell or Alex Ramosi talk about, they say, oh, do a time audit, right? Spend a week or two just, and there's different ways you can do it. You can get a list and you just set a notification, and every time that goes off, you basically just write down exactly what you're doing, right? And then you'll be able to go back and review that and be like, oh, where am I spending my time?
Yeah. But it also requires you to like it requires you to put on a different lens to be able to actually think about that. So for example, a completely different example. I used to always wash my oranges. And then one day I was like, I'm not eating the peel. Why am I washing the orange? And it's like, it's just one of those things you just think that you need to do it just because you've always done it.
Yeah.
And then you just take a second. Like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Why am I washing an orange?
Yeah.
So we'll circle back, and really when we talk about the theory of constraints is, that whole idea of trying to figure out what your major constraint is. And of the two, I will say, and I think we've talked about this, is like the neuroscience more heavily favors the theory of constraints. Mm-hmm. And so why is that? Well, when we talk about the strategic plan with the Rockefeller Habits, we just think about that from a focus, right? And we've talked a lot at end and at length about focus. Well, you think you're identifying kind of like 3 to 5 key areas, right? And now you're developing a quarterly objective in all of those. Well, you are now dividing your focus.
Yeah.
And we are very much like flow follows focus. And so the more focused you are, actually, the more effective you are. And so by using that framework, I think even working with clients is the overwhelming feedback is you're way less effective. Yeah. But if you're going from 0 to something, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about, hey, what's going to be like, we're talking about, okay, how does the neuroscience kind of weigh in on this? So from that point, theory of constraints wins over Rockefeller Habits.
Yeah.
That's why we ditched it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or we've condensed the Rockefeller Habits, and the one-page strategic plan is like, it's the one-line strategic plan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what is your constraint, right?
Yeah.
So don't try. And the reason for that is we talk about strategic planning. We talked about prioritizing. You're just prioritizing resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you best prioritize your resources? Well, you pick one thing and you put your resources to that. That's
exactly. Yeah. It's just simplifying a super long equation. So the super long equation will eventually get you to that constraint. Yeah. But if you just focus on the constraint from the get-go, it's going to solve every other problem.
Yeah. And it's basically dissecting that whole long equation. It's like, hey, what's the most important part of all this case? Solve that. Okay, cool. Now I can solve the next piece. And then I solve the next piece. And I solve the next piece. And then by the end of it, you have the whole thing solved. As opposed to I try to solve everything all at once, you're not going to solve it.
Exactly.
Because all these other pieces are dependent on the previous.
So this kind of reminds me about how like the old school waterfall project management to like the new school agile project management.
Yep.
Same concept, where before you used to like do the entire thing all at once, and then there was no room for like adjustments as things were happening.
Yes.
Critical now the new school is like you're focused on the most important thing that shows you immediate results.
Yep.
And then you switch if you're not seeing results.
Yeah.
You move along. Whereas again, the old school way is like, no, we still got to go through because this is what we started with. This is what we said.
This is what the plan says. Yeah. But what happens when your plan's wrong?
The ship is sinking. We got to jump.
But the plan says
straight ahead. Straight ahead. Keep going.
We don't deviate. You steer into that iceberg.
Exactly. Yeah. But sir, the plan says straight.
Oh yeah, that's really, a great example of it. And so there's really, this isn't even one of those ones where it's like, I know when we talked about Andy Frisella's program versus, 75 hard versus Atomic Habits. Yeah. There was like, okay, cool. Like it's one of the ones where, the neuroscience weighs in, and the neuroscience says, you know what, depending on who you are and what you need, either of those can work, and they both work, right? This is, I think, a much more clear-cut situation where, yes, you can get some benefit out of the one-page strategic plan, following the Rockefeller habit, like Vern's way of doing it. And that's fine. You can get some traction there. But if you want the maximum amount of traction, if you want to leverage your biology and scale your biology the most to get the most out of it, it's theory of constraints. Yeah. It's figuring out, do I have, a lead constraint? Do I have a sales constraint? Do I have a delivery constraint? Or do I have a profit constraint? Really, that's all what it is. And there's going to be like nuances within those, but it's really, what is that? And then as we talked about, the scaling playbook is now you strip away all of the nonsense that you're doing, all the things that you don't need to be doing. So we're not dividing our focus. We're actually taking away all the other things that aren't helpful to that. And now we're pouring all of our resources into that. Yeah. So that we can be most effective. And that's where the neuroscience, again, supports that even more, because as we take away all the things that we're not need to be doing, what do? We reduce cognitive load, right? So we then reduce analysis paralysis. We reduce decision fatigue. We're actually stacking so many more wins in our favor because we're focused less on the things that don't matter, and we're focused more and more and more on the thing that does matter.
Exactly. You're doing it quicker.
And you're doing it faster, right? And if you're leveraging something like flow state, you're going to achieve it even faster because you're able to condense time frames to get it done faster and you'll solve it faster. Your creativity will be up. And so if you think about theory constraints actually fits better for a flow prone business or like running your business with more flow. Theory of constraints is the way you want to go. It's not even like a marginal win. It is a night and day difference between the two.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be mediocre and you want to do a thing and you want to take a long time to get somewhere, sure, you can do the 1-page strategic plan. And it's actually, we used to fucking talk about it all the time. In fact, my first ebook had it in there, still does. I haven't updated it yet. Right. And a lot of the early work we did with clients was around the 1-page strategic plan. Why? Because it was, at the time, it was a good tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And it's especially going from zero to something, it's a great tool because it then allows you to kind of, at least for the first time in your life, see somewhat of your business on a page. Like, okay, there's my core values. Right? There's my mission. There's our big, hairy, audacious goal. And we had some KPIs. We kind of have some numbers there. And we have some like things that are actually going to, which is great even from a neuroscience perspective. Like there's an interesting study and it was like, how do you get like more out of people? And it was really just like a simple thing was just set goals for them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it wasn't like, and there, I'm trying to remember, I think it was like, Locke and someone, I think, if I remember correctly. So forgive me for that one. It's one of the studies that are there. I think it's Locke and someone. They did a study. And it was basically, I think they looked at like lumberjacks, and it was like, well, how do we get more out of it? And it was simply just by putting like a kind of a goal there, instead of just do as much as you can. It was like just putting an arbitrary goal there. Suddenly they actually increased their production from it. Yeah. So by having, and that's all to boil down to say, a simple way to get more out of it is just put a simple goal. But when you actually put that there, so you'll get some really good traction if you have nothing. You want fucking maximum theory constraints. Yeah. Find the constraint. Yeah. Solve for a constraint.
Well, you said that perfectly. And, the problem is that I hear people say this all the time. Oh my God, like, Saudi, you were saying yesterday the 1-page strategic plan was the best thing ever. And, my issue with that is that, yes, it was. At the time. That was at the time. Yeah. The beauty about this industry is that if you want to stay ahead, you have to constantly be evolving. And this is exactly a testament to that, is that, again, it's still not out of the equation. There's just a lot, there's better ways to get to where you want to get to.
What? Okay, here's the deal. I think if you stay stuck on one thing, all you're proving is that you do not have a learner mindset.
And again,
you have a fixed mindset. Yeah. And so if you can't take new information and make better and new decisions and take things in and learn, then all you're doing is staying stuck in the past. Like, I think the biggest risk you have is staying anchored on something like that and saying, and not questioning whether or not like that is something that could be better.
Yeah. It's all about improving processes that you've already been doing. We choose to still walk when we want to walk, but that doesn't mean that going a 10-kilometer, walk is still the right way to do it. Well, when we have vehicles available.
So this is actually a conversation I had earlier this week, and it was someone we're talking about essentially two ways of doing things. And I was having a conversation, and I said, so help me understand, like, what is it about this tool that you like so much? Oh, I love it. I can like get into it. It's very tactical. I can get in, I can see all the numbers. I can do all these things that I really need to do. And I said, okay, great. I mean, I can appreciate that. That's probably really important to you, right? Now let me help you wrap your head around what that is the equivalent of what basically where we're going, right? Let's just say that tool there it's your horse and buggy. And you love it because guess what? You have your horses, you go get your horses, you get to bring them out of the stables, you get to brush them, you get to pat them, they make all their funny noises, you get to give them oats and whatever it is, and it's very tactile. You get all that, right? And then But now what I'm saying is, you think about that, give that the context of the timeline that was around. You have a horse and buggy and things like that. And then what's coming over here is the steam engine. Mm-hmm. Like the technology difference between the two and what one is capable of doing for the amount of energy you put into it versus the other, and what you'll get out of it versus the other, it's worlds apart. Like that's what we're talking about.
Are you not brushing your steam engines? Why
yes,
are you not feeding it?
Steam engine running on oats.
Yeah. Giving a little tickle behind the neck.
Ooh, toot, toot. But that's a very, just another way of saying, like, you know what, like you have to be able to move at the time where appropriate. Yeah. There is a balance of the bright, shiny object syndrome, which will get you kind of, every new thing. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's find the constraint, solve the constraint, and then create the most amount of leverage. What is the thing that will create the most leverage to solve that problem? So in this case, guess what? You can understand that horse and buggy is not going to be appropriate. It might do a job that a steam engine, like it'll never do the same job and get the same output as a steam engine, right? Mm-hmm. Versus now, like what do we have? Like pick your, we have cars that now drive on batteries. We have gas engines that drive farther than we've ever had before. Like, and generate more power per liter than they've ever have. Yeah. So like the technology is different. So all that to say, I'm super, super leery about anyone who just kind of just stays locked on one thing, especially in the world, like around business and growing and scaling your business. Is like, yeah, I mean, you could go door to door, but it might not really be appropriate for your business. Yeah. Right. There might be a million better ways to reach people. Yeah. Beyond just kind of like.
Yeah. It's just optimizing and utilizing a tool that's going to get you there to the finish line faster.
And so that's why we say theory of constraints, clear fucking winner.
Yeah. Absolutely.
100%. And the neuroscience is right there because it helps drive more focus. It doesn't divide your focus. Yeah. Creates more focus, more flow, faster results in less time. Mm-hmm. So with that, anything you want to add?
No, it's a perfect place.
Okay, awesome. Listen, everyone, we're your neuroscience business coaches. My name is Darius.
And I'm Saad.
And we were here to give you the minimum effective dose to your business and a clear neuroscience winner between the two titans of Rockefeller Habits, one-page strategic plan, and theory of constraints. So we hope you learned something today. I know I did. That you can't feed steam engine oats to make it go. As always, if you've been here since the beginning, thank you so much. And thank you to our moms. Mom, love you. Saad's mom, love you. Thank you so much. And to all those who've been along the way and just joining us, thank you. If you've liked anything, had a chuckle, learned anything, like, share, subscribe, all the things. Don't be a hoe. Share the show, as a good man, Andy Frisella says. So with that, everyone, we want you to remember to sign up for the Neuroscience Masterclass in the link below, where you're going to reclaim a lot of time and energy and stop wasting time on shit that doesn't matter and focus on things that do. And with that, remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.